Welcome back to your weekly brief. My name is Tony DeVito. Today's date is November 22nd, 2024. At the top of the hour, we will be discussing Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon and Iran, U.S. authorized missile attacks in Russia by Ukraine, and the collapse of the German government. On the back end, we will bring it home with some news of Trump's nominations of cabinet positions, the mayor of Chicago taking a verbal shellacking, and a little sports at the end. Starting with tensions in the Middle East, recent Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon have intensified regional tensions, killing several civilians, including a family of 5. The strikes targeted Hezbollah positions in response to cross-border rocket attacks, according to Israeli authorities. This escalation comes amid heightened concerns over Hezbollah's growing influence in Lebanon and ties to Iran. The international community, including the United Nations, has called for restraint, fearing that continued hostilities can spark a broader conflict. Now, is that a threat to Israel that the United Nations is making, or are they just making a statement since they don't do much else? Efforts to broker a ceasefire are ongoing, with Iran being urged to leverage its influence over Hezbollah to de-escalate the situation. Meanwhile, the humanitarian toll of the conflict is mounting, with thousands displaced and critical infrastructure damaged. The strikes have further strained relations between Israel and its neighbors, raising questions about the future of peace efforts in the region. Staying in the Middle East, Israel strikes Iran's nuclear facility. In a dramatic escalation of tensions, Israel launched airstrikes targeting a key component of Iran's nuclear program, marking one of the most significant actions against Tehran in recent years. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed the operation, stating it aimed to neutralize advancements in uranium enrichment. The strikes also deployed multiple Iranian S-300 air defense systems, underscoring the intensity of the operation. Israel has long accused Iran of covertly developing nuclear weapons, a claim Tehran denies. Maintaining its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. Yeah, and their idea of peace is no Israel. And let's not forget that the only reason that Iran even had an opportunity to create these nuclear weapons is because the Obama and Biden administrations allowed them to do so and even gave them money to do it. The attack has drawn widespread international attention, with some nations supporting Israel's right to self-defense and others cautioning against actions that could destabilize the region. I'd say the region is already destabilized. Iran has vowed to respond, raising fears of broader conflict. The incident also highlights the fragility of diplomatic efforts in the Middle East, particularly as global powers attempt to revive the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. In the UK, prices in the housing market are forecasted to rise. After a decline in November, the UK housing market is projected to rebound, with prices expected to rise by 4% in 2025. This marks the fastest growth rate in 4 years, driven by increased demand and economic recovery efforts. Analysts believe that first-time buyers and investors will drive the trend. Though affordability remains a pressing concern, the housing market's recovery is seen as a trendsetter for broader economic stability in the post-pandemic era. Despite the optimistic forecasts, challenges persist, including high interest rates and ongoing cost of living pressures. Experts warn that without targeting policies to address these issues, many potential buyers may remain locked out of the market. The government is under pressure to balance economic growth with affordability initiatives to ensure a more inclusive recovery. I really don't see how this is a more inclusive recovery. During the pandemic, housing prices grew anywhere from 15 to 50%, depending on the market that you lived in. This made the housing market truly unaffordable for first-time buyers and people who are looking to upgrade, maybe because the size of their family is growing or for whatever other reasons. This is really going to keep people out of the market if the prices continue to grow. Sure, that's great for home buyers who want to continue to make money off of their home sales, but let's be honest, who's going to buy them? The prices are already higher than they should be, and they want to increase the prices even further. I'm a homeowner, but honestly, prices should be coming down and not going up. I don't think this is a good trend setter for the economy. I think it just makes matters worse. If you think things are crazy in America, just wait till you hear what's going on with the political shakeup in Germany. Germany's governing coalition collapsed after Chancellor Olaf Scholz dismissed Finance Minister Christian Lindner, leader of the FDP, over disagreements on fiscal policies. The move has triggered political turmoil, with coalition partners blaming each other for the breakdown. Lindner's departure reflects deeper divisions within the coalition regarding Germany's economic strategy, particularly on issues like public spending and taxation. The collapse of the coalition has left Germany's political landscape in disarray, with the possibility of snap elections looming. Scholz is now tasked with either forming a new coalition or leading a minority government. This political instability comes at a critical time for Germany as it faces economic challenges and a leadership role within the European Union. This is just another example of a country who is running with far-left policies failing and the people rejecting it. Countries have to be careful, though, because where there's a far left, there's a far right, and you want to make sure that you don't trade one for the other. Germany has done that once before, long ago, as we all know. And the ever-wasteful COP29 climate summit in Baku, Azerbaijan, took place last week, which brought world leaders together to tackle pressing climate changes and challenges. Discussions focused on achieving net zero carbon emissions, financing renewable energy transitions, and supporting developing nations in building climate resilience. The summit underscored the urgency of collective action, with some countries committing to more ambitious targets. However, the talks revealed deep divisions between developed and developing nations over financial responsibilities. Well, imagine that. While wealthier countries pledged billions in climate financing, activists argued that these commitments fall short of addressing the global crisis. The summit highlighted both progress and persistent challenges in the fight against climate change, and that's if you even believe that there is anything that we can do to stop it or slow it down anyway. There's so many natural phenomena and causes for climate change that nobody seems to want to discuss, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with the fact that if it's natural and you can't stop it, then you can't make any money from it. So let's just remember that conferences like these are so that they can make money, not so that they can stop something that, well, they really can't stop. And some news from the Church of England, that is. Archbishop of Canterbury resigns. Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, announced his resignation following a damning report on his handling of abuse cases within the Church of England. The report criticized the Church's failure to adequately address allegations of misconduct, prompting widespread calls for accountability. Wow, this sounds really familiar. Catholic Church, maybe? I guess the Church of England is not much different than the Catholic Church. Welby's departure marks a significant moment for the Church as it seeks to rebuild trust with its congregation. His resignation has reignited debates about the role of religious institutions in addressing abuse and safeguarding vulnerable individuals. The Church now faces the challenge of selecting a successor who can lead with transparency and restore faith in its leadership. This episode serves as a sobering reminder of the need for systemic change within religious organizations. Oh, kind of like how Henry VIII made systemic change in the religious organization by leaving the Catholic Church and creating the Church of England, which then has now done the same exact thing that the Catholic Church did. Okay, well, good job on that. Moving over to the United States, Donald Trump's re-election and transition team. Donald Trump was re-elected on November 5th, as we all know, defeating incumbent Vice President Kamala Harris in a pretty easy race. His campaign centered on issues like economic revival, immigration control, and a tough-on-China stance, galvanizing his base and securing critical swing states, which seemed to come pretty easy. With the victory, Trump is rapidly assembling his cabinet, naming Marco Rubio as Secretary of State and Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. However, the most surprising announcements include his plans to nominate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Health and Human Services, Elon Musk as the leader of a proposed Department of Technology and Innovation, and Vivek Ramaswamy to head a newly envisioned Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE, which Elon Musk will assist in. These unconventional appointments have sparked intense reactions across the political spectrum, probably because most people are afraid they're going to lose their jobs that they sit around and don't do anything in except for, well, collect taxpayer money. Kennedy, known for his controversial views on vaccines, is expected to push sweeping reforms in healthcare policy. Musk's nomination reflects Trump's emphasis on innovation and modernization, particularly in areas like AI and energy, where Ramaswamy, a biotech entrepreneur and political newcomer, has been tasked with overhauling bureaucracy and promoting efficiency in federal agencies. While supporters hail these choices as visionary, critics argue they could deepen divisions and challenge traditional norms of governance. Well, maybe it's the traditional norms that are the problem. Actually, they are the problem, and that's exactly why he's putting these people in place, because we need to get rid of these traditional norms that are sinking our culture and our government. Eva Longoria relocates post-election, though she denies that fact, saying that she has lived overseas well before the election outcome. Actress Eva Longoria announced her plans to leave the United States following Trump's re-election, citing concerns about the country's future trajectory. Known for her activism on issues like immigration reform and women's rights, Longoria expressed fears about the impact of Trump's policies in marginalizing communities. She shared her decisions in a heartfelt social media post emphasizing her commitment to continuing her advocacy work abroad. Longoria's announcement has resonated with many who feel alienated by the current political climate, while critics accuse her of abandoning the fight for change. Her decision has sparked widespread discussion about how celebrities influence public discourse during politically charged times. Longoria's moves highlights the deep division in the country and the uncertainty many Americans feel about the future. It also raises questions about the role of cultural figures in shaping the national dialogue and how their actions might inspire or polarize their audiences. I say mostly polarize because a lot of people really don't give a shit if you stay in the country or not because Trump became president. Actually, if that's your stance, well, maybe we'll throw a party for you on your way out. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the mayor is verbally attacked at a city council meeting. During a recent Chicago City Council meeting, Mayor Brandon Johnson faced vocal criticism from residents, including supporters of President-elect Donald Trump, over Mayor Johnson's proposed $300 million property tax increase. The proposal intended to address the city's nearly $1 billion budget deficit, which was unanimously rejected by the council. Residents expressed frustration over rising taxes and the allocation of funds to support the influx of over 35,000 migrants in recent years. Many attendees, some wearing MAGA gear, voiced their dissatisfaction directly to the mayor, highlighting high approval ratings for Trump in Illinois and suggesting a potential shift towards Republican support in the city. All of the attendees who verbally attacked the mayor in the city council were black and made it a point to remind Mayor Johnson that they voted for Donald Trump. In Chicago, and the state of Illinois will be red next time, and they are done with the Democrat Party.
Good evening, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I want to know, how does it feel that Trump is in office right now? You see the Mayor Brandon Johnson, you underestimate us. You underestimate the black people, and you underestimate Chicago red. We're the thorn in y'all side, and we're going to be the thorn on everybody else in this council member side too. If you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to take matters in our own hand, and we're going to stop it. You know that Trump had pulled 45% of the voter in the state of Illinois, 37 in the city of Chicago. That's the statistic. That means that Illinois is turning purple. We're going to turn red.
Y'all can bird dog me all y'all want, but if it's relationship over duty, then y'all don't serve the blue. And you can smirk all you want.
Mr. Sims, direct your attention towards me, please.
You're a criminal. Why do I got to address you? The feds need to address you. DOJ need to address you, and hopefully Donald Trump will address you. Because you're going to protect the undocumented while you're going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer under your, 33%? See, Joe Lopez cooked that 3% up a long time ago. Y'all called it a circuit breaker. Y'all been talked about it. Remember, before you came in here and gave that jovial speech, you need to be inspected. You and that creep over there.
Acting like, you just going to bully everybody. You got people, officers whose families don't even want you to come to the funeral. You just like a schoolyard bully that at some point, and you might not know nothing about it because you grew up in Elgin, but those of us who grew up on the south side and west side of Chicago, we all know that at some point that bully gets cornered in the alley and everybody come at him and he ain't gonna have nobody to help him. That's you. That's you. Keep thinking you ain't gonna abide by what the President of the United States said. Everybody know better than that. I see you, Anna Valencia, in your red. You know what it is. This is the second time you showed up in City Council in red. You know what it is? Yeah. Yeah. So you and the rest of them that know what time it is, y'all come on. You leave that loser where he is. He's a loser. He's a loser. No, me and Zoe, we ain't doing nothing for nobody except for ourselves. We got you, loser.
14% rating is what you appear to have, Brandon Johnson, across the United States, or how they see you. But 14% rating. Now, what about our real estate? Because, see, we paid for these properties for a purpose and not for you to go touching it with $300 million that you want to siphon out of the citizens' pockets. Get rid of the illegals!
And it's getting hot in there for Brandon Johnson. I hope he has another job lined up after his term is over. Despite the symbolic nature of the unanimous vote against the tax hike, negotiations continue to find alternative revenue sources to close Chicago's budget gap. This is actually pretty exciting to hear. The people of Chicago finally waking up and realizing that their Democratic representation is not really looking out for their best interests. They're only actually looking out for their own best interests, and they're willing to use the people of Chicago in order to heighten their own political gain. This is not surprising to probably most of you listening, but it is surprising to many people in these Democratic cities and states who have been, well, they've had the blinders on for many years and believe those Democrat politicians. Right now they're going through an awakening, and a period of enlightenment that many of us went through long ago. So we need to be patient and empathetic with them because they're just now finding out that they've been wronged and that they've been duped all of these years. The Lincoln Riley murder trial came to a close this week. On November 20th, 2024, Jose Ibarra was convicted of the February 22nd murder of 22-year-old nursing student Lincoln Riley. Riley was attacked and killed while jogging near the University of Georgia campus. Ibarra, a 26-year-old Venezuelan national who entered the U.S. illegally, was found guilty on all charges, including malice murder and aggravated assault with the intent to rape. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The case has intensified debates over immigration policies, with President-elect Donald Trump citing it as a reason for stricter border control measures. And hopefully those measures come in soon. We're less than 60 days out to the President-elect Donald Trump taking office. And just think, many politicians on the Democrat side of the House believe this to not be an issue and want to keep illegal immigrants here in this country and want to bring more illegal immigrants into this country and just don't see that violence from illegal immigrants is an issue. On to sports. The NFL approves the Trump dance celebrations. That's right, the NFL has announced it has no issue with players incorporating the Trump dance into their on-field celebrations, providing they adhere to league guidelines on non-excessive and non-violent acts. This decision follows several players, including Nick Bosa and Brock Bowers, performing the dance popularized by President-elect Trump during games. An NFL spokesperson clarified that the dance is not considered a political statement, though players may have been fined for wearing politically affiliated apparel on the field. The Trump dance has also been adopted in other sports, with figures like UFC champion John Jones and soccer player Christian Pulisic participating. I think it's quite sad that since they lost an election, they're doing, and when I say they, I mean Democrats and their supporters, they're trying to do everything they can to throw a tantrum whenever there's anything that promotes Trump in a positive light. Tyson vs. Paul. On November 15th, 2024, at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where the Dallas Cowboys play, 58-year-old former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson faced 27-year-old YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul in a highly anticipated bout. The fight, streamed live on Netflix, attracted a peak of 65 million concurrent viewers, setting a record for the platform and causing a lot of buffering, which became the joke of the internet that evening and days following. The match consisted of 8 two-minute rounds, with both fighters wearing 14-ounce gloves. Paul dominated the fight, landing 78 of his 278 punches, while Tyson connected only 18 of his 97 punches. The judges scored the bout 80-72, 79-73, and 79-73, all in favor of Paul, resulting in a unanimous decision victory for Jake Paul. Clearly, Tyson, being a senior citizen, had a lot to do with the outcome of this fight. He had a 2.5-inch bleeding ulcer, which caused them to delay the fight from June to December. He also had a knee brace on, and whatever was going on with his knee in conjunction with the ulcer, and the fact that he's 58 clearly slowed him down and made it nearly impossible for Tyson to move around the ring and get any real attack or momentum going against Paul. Despite the significant age difference in Tyson's long hiatus from professional boxing, the event generated substantial interest and sparked discussions about the evolving nature of boxing entertainment, and also the question of who's Jake Paul going to fight next, which there are now rumors that he might be fighting the Irish legend Conor McGregor, though Jake Paul says it wouldn't be in a boxing ring since he'd have to lose too much weight to fight Conor. And in college football, Week 12 of college football delivered high-stakes action, particularly in the SEC, which is the Southeastern Conference, where dominant performances bolstered the conference's playoff hopes. Teams like Alabama and Georgia made strong statements, solidifying their positions as national title contenders. Meanwhile, the Big 12 faced setbacks, with underwhelming performances dimming its chances of securing a second team in the college football playoff. The playoff picture remains fluid as championship week approaches. With debates intensifying over rankings and potential matchups, fans and analysts alike are eager to see how the final weeks of the season will shape the road to the national championship. The stakes are higher than ever as teams vie for a spot in the ever-coveted playoff bracket. And this just in. Matt Gaetz' nomination for Attorney General is withdrawn, and Trump will be selecting another person for this position. The current statement from the Trump team and Gaetz is that his nomination as Attorney General is only serving as a distraction to the President-elect at this time, and it is best to move forward with someone else. That someone else is none other than Florida's former Attorney General, Pam Bondi. She will now be the official nominee for Donald Trump's next Attorney General. We will keep you updated with more cabinet picks and related developments as they come. Well, that's all for this weekly brief. Thanks for joining us, and I look forward to briefing you next week. Be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button to continue following us and listening to our podcasts. My name's Tony DeVito, and we'll see you next time.